Here we are again. Another ultra woke liberal wants to give us a lecture. And this time it's Don Lemon, the once celebrated, now terminated CNN host. And he wants to tell us that white men are the problem. Let's talk about it.
White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence.
And there he is in all his glory, and I'm going to show you a little more of that. But Lemon's remark wasn't just off the cuff, it was a broader narrative of all of the mainstream media outlets. They push the narrative that white men, anybody who supports Donald Trump, anybody who's a conservative, we're all violent. That has been the narrative of the Democrat Party for years. Joe Biden once said white supremacy is the number one threat to national security. Even though Joe really didn't know what he was talking about, he said it. Somebody wrote that for him to say. That's what Democrats believe. But violence in the United States is a multi layered issue. Urban crime, drug epidemics, gang violence, mental health, failed schools, and broken families. If you have to break it down, I believe every race commits the same amount of crimes, but I also believe that other races than white commit more crimes. And it's not because of a racial issue, it's because of inner cities where people live and the people are not taken care of by the politicians who run these cities. We've seen it in Chicago for years under Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The black on black crime was out of control and she did nothing about it but blame Republicans. Now we have Brandon Johnson, who hires only black people and does nothing about the black on black gang violence in his city. He blames Donald Trump and MAGA and white supremacy. Well, the whites are not running around inner city Chicago committing these crimes. Brandon Johnson knows this, but he doesn't want you to believe he knows it. He wants to blame someone for his own failures. And he wants to blame the President of the United States because he has a hatred for Donald Trump because Donald Trump is doing what needs to be done to stop the crime. Have a listen to the rest of Lemon's little lecture, if you will, because it's quite hysterical, I think. And then we'll be back and we'll talk about it a little more.
Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back. White men, are you okay? Are you okay? Because until you are, this country won't be okay. Until there's some sort of reckoning with your rage, with your racism, with your radicalization. It is white male radicalization. And we need to fight it like the national emergency that it has become. Because the next shooter is already watching. The next shooter is already waiting. It's already soaking in the lies, the conspiracies, all the excuses. So wake up, white men. What the is wrong with you? Don't you realize if you're a poor or average person that you have more in common, gonna blow your mind, with a person of color than you do with the billionaire class or the millionaire class who are co-opting you into thinking that something is happening that's not? They're grifting off of your ignorance.
So instead of calling out violence, if you will, by race, they should be calling out the root causes: poverty, families breaking down, cultural decay, and a justice system that has lost total credibility. Because, like I spoke of in my last episode, the animal who killed the young college girl was let out of jail so many times he ended up killing somebody. That is not a white man problem. That is a liberal problem. And the same media voices who cry about division, the Republicans want to divide us, MAGA wants to divide us, Donald Trump is a dictator, he wants to take all blacks and Latinos and whatever else they say and put them in concentration camps. That is how young white men who commit horrific crimes get radicalized, by listening to the propaganda pushed by the mainstream media. It's not about pointing fingers. It's everyday Americans, all colors, all ethnicities. People are committing crimes. There will always be crime. It can never be stopped. But for Don Lemon, the joke of a person that he is, to say white men are the problem is absolutely laughable. Don Lemon is married to a white man. Yes, he's gay. No one gives a shit. His husband is white. So is his husband part of the problem? Is his husband okay? It makes no sense. These people are going to continuously push a narrative that white supremacy and conservative white men are the problem in this country, and we are causing all the violence. And most of the time, I'm sorry to say this, but the violent crimes that we're seeing in inner cities are not committed by white men. No, but Don doesn't want to tell you that because he's a black man. He's going to stick up for his people, which is his right. But for him to come out with such preposterous things to say and blame white people for all the world's, all our country's ills is absolutely ridiculous. Democrats don't want to confront violence. They want to cause violence. They want to let cities, again like Chicago, where President Trump has now sent federal troops to, they want to let these people continue to harm each other, continue to kill each other, and do absolutely nothing about it. All they want to do is point the finger at the President of the United States because they simply don't like him. And they don't like him because he's not a politician. He doesn't say what he thinks people want to hear. He tells you like it is. And what he says is mainly the truth. Inner city violence is committed more by African American men than any other race. Full stop. We all know this to be true. And Don Lemon will go along with his false narrative, and every other liberal media will go along with their false narrative. And of course, again, Joe Biden said white supremacy is the problem. The problem's never going to be fixed until the Democrat Party realizes that they are pointing the finger at the wrong people. As a matter of fact, they shouldn't be pointing the finger at anyone. It's crime in general. Every race, again, every ethnicity commits crimes. Prisons are full of blacks, whites, Asians, Latinos, men or women. It's not the white race that's the problem. It has nothing to do with white supremacy, but it has a lot to do with hypocrite Democrats who fail every step of the way and need something to lie to the people about. So they're going to tell you that whites are committing all the violence. And again, I admit, yes, we've seen these mass shootings carried out by white men or young men, but it always turns out that they're liberal lunatics, transgender. They listen to that ridiculous ideology, and they don't like the fact that nobody supports them, so they're going to get a gun and go kill innocent people. Yeah, those are lunatic white people, but they're liberals. They believe everything a Democrat says. So Don Lemon can believe whatever he wants. He can keep preaching his false narrative. Again, he's on his own. He's doing his own media thing. No one wants to hire Don Lemon. He disgraced CNN, which is a disgrace anyways. And now he wants you to believe that white men are the problem with violence in this country. President Trump is a white man, and what he's doing is stopping the violent crime in the most violent cities in this country. And the Democrats don't like it. They just want to point fingers and blame somebody for their failures. We've seen it for years, and we're going to continue to see it. No matter who is in the White House next, it's always going to be a conservative Republican problem. Democrats are going to save everyone. Republicans are going to destroy everything. And it's always going to be white men are the violent ones. It's absolutely ridiculous. And these people need to wake up and start telling the truth.